Well, hello again. And today I'd like to tell you to be careful when you make new friends. I got Mickeyed. Totally unexpected. It was a surprise to me. At the time we were living on our boat and we were over in the southern Bahamas and we were in this harbor called Georgetown. And a lot of boats were in there and met some people and being introduced to other people through those. And a friend of mine called Computer Bob introduced me to a couple friends of his on another boat. And John and Denise, I'll just leave it at that. I won't say their boat name because some people might know who they are. But anyway, I met John and Denise, and he was a retired vet, and his wife was his assistant, and they were living on a beautiful sailboat and cruising down through the Caribbean. And I think I'd met them once, maybe twice, previous to this event happening. And I had a trawler that held about 200 gallons of water. So we would run into town to get water in a dinghy. And so I went around to all the boats I knew and asked, hey, do you have extra water jugs I can borrow? I had a 14-foot aluminum dinghy, so I could carry quite a bit of water in it. So I had went by and picked up some water jugs from this gentleman, made a couple trips into town and filled up all my water tanks. And I was bringing all the water jugs back to the different boats. And when I pulled up next to his, he was the last boat. And he looks over to the side. He says, hey, I'm having a daiquiri. Would you like to have one? And I'm like, yeah, it's cocktail hour now. And I was going over to see Computer Bob in a little bit. And his wife, they were making dinner for us that night. So I jumped up on the boat with him. And he says, hey, I've got Ann's Cove rum. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, Ann's Cove is fine. I think it's a rum possibly made in the Bahamas, but it was a fairly common rum you could find there. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So his wife goes down and makes me a daiquiri. And of course, I'm not even sure what's in a daiquiri, which he's telling me, oh yeah, it's just lemon, sugar, and rum. So I have one with him, and we're talking about the boats and all this stuff. And he goes, you want another one? I'm like, yeah, I have another one. And we're drinking Tervis tumblers, which are 12 ounces, what's that, 350 milliliters, something like that, glasses. So I end up having 3 rums with him. And I'm like, hey, I got to go. I got to go get cleaned up. I'm going over to Bob's boat and going to have dinner. Okay. So I jump in my dinghy, and I actually can handle my liquor quite well. Not bragging about that, I just have a high tolerance to the stuff. So I jump in my dinghy and I take off for my boat. Well, his wife gets on the VHF radio and starts calling my wife. She's going, be on the lookout for Derek. He's a little looped. And at that point, I'm not really feeling too much. I run over to my boat. I take a shower, and we jump back in the dinghy and cruise over a few hundred yards over to another boat. And we're sitting on the boat, and it's starting to really, something's coming over me big time. I mean, I'm starting to feel like really, really, my head's going. I've got one hell of a buzz going. And we sit down at the table to eat down below. And all of a sudden, I can't eat anything. There's no way. And I make it out to the cockpit, and I make it to the floor of the cockpit. I'm just sort of laying out, and I'm in the cockpit, and everybody's going, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? I'm like, holy shit. I said, I was over at that guy's at the vet. I said, son of a bitch Mickeyed me. And they're going, what? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. And I mean, I'm laid out in the cockpit floor. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm down. I'm down for the count. So I don't really remember when we went back to the boat or I was able to go back to our own boat. But the next day I got up and I was absolutely livid that somebody had slipped me some kind of drugs in my drink, because I don't take any kind of drugs. I'm not a pill popper. And so I'm actually really upset about it. And I go accuse the guy because he's a vet. And I'm figuring he's got some kind of drugs with him. And I'm like, what the hell did you do to me? And he's going, nothing. He says, I didn't do anything. I'm like, my God, I'm telling him what happened. And he starts laughing. He says, well, I told you it was Ann's Cove. And I'm like, yeah, don't tell me that. I said, I got Ann's Cove over on the boat. I said, that's what we buy. And he goes, well, then it's 151. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, it's Ann's Cove. It's 151. He says, I told you. I got Ann's Cove. Well, he slipped that little part about it being 151. And we were drinking water glasses full of this stuff. And I had never drank 151, and I've never drank it since. I have no desire to drink that stuff. That's literally fire water. But yeah, 3 glasses of 151, and Derek went down hard, and I could have swore somebody drugged me. And we laugh about it to this day, but I swore to God that he slipped some kind of drugs in my drink. And I'm sure his wife is watching this video right now going, John, come here. He's talking about you. But yeah, that's the only time anybody's tried to Mickey me. And yeah, it was you, John. All right, everybody, take care. Cheers.